Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. Now, while addressing a rally in Srinagar earlier today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke about Naya Kashmir. The speech has come a day after the first phase of voting for the 24 of the 90 assembly seats in Jammu and Kashmir. He also lauded the massive voter turnout that was witnessed during the first phase of the Jammu and Kashmir election, and he said that the bumper voting has rejected the parties that sympathize with stone-pelters and terrorists. Reflecting on the transformation of Lal Chowk in Srinagar, Prime Minister stated that once it was a place that symbolized danger for those attempting to hoist the tricolour. The Prime Minister remarked that the situation has changed dramatically and today the markets of Srinagar, including Lal Chowk, are alive and bustling with vibrant celebrations of both Eid and Diwali, signalling a new sense of normalcy and communal harmony. Let's start this conversation. Joining me on the telecast, Major General Dhruv Katoch. An understanding from you with regards to whatever be the outcome of the assembly elections, it has to be accepted and acknowledged that the BJP government sitting at the centre has ensured that there is peace and calm and harmony that is witnessed in Kashmir, no matter if they have to pay the electoral price in the process.
Thank you, Megha. Yes, I think what we are witnessing in J&K is a dramatic change, which perhaps 5 years earlier it could not have been dreamt of. And I think the starting point of that change came with the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A. Because had those provisions remained in the Constitution, I do not think it would have been possible really to have come out with any semblance of elections or peace the way it is existing now. Now, one thing I would like to state, the very fact that such a large percentage of people have come out to vote, regardless of the direction of their vote, but it denotes an acceptance of the democratic process and a rejection of violence. I think that is the important message which goes out. So it is not important as to which party wins. Whichever party wins will form the government, or either singly or in coalition. But the important message which has gone out from the voters is that we want a democratic system of functioning where our will counts. So I think here the major thing is that the people of Jammu and Kashmir have taken center stage. I think the second thing which has happened is, while I understand that terrorism has not been rooted out completely from the state, and we are still having incidents of terrorist violence, the change really is that the terrorists are no longer able to influence public behavior. Earlier, when the terrorists called a call for a boycott, everything would shut down. Now that state is over. So the terror which they felt from terrorist groups, and they felt so threatened, I think that bit is over. Yeah. Now the people are free to choose. I think that is the important change, and it is most welcome. And the Prime Minister has, of course, made it very clear in his address. It is not so much the economic development. I think it is the change in mindset which is the most important, which has taken place. Megha.
Okay. I also have with me Gargi Nandi Roy. And Gargi, how do you view in terms of the transformation that has taken place? And then in contrast, when there are regional political parties, the likes of National Conference and the PDP, who continue to harp upon the point that abrogation of Article 370 is what they will fight for. Is this regional politics and the vote bank that they are eyeing for the kind of political narrative that they continue to build?
Yes, thank you, Megha, for inviting. Megha, it is really unfortunate that when the Defense Minister of Pakistan, Khwaja Asif, and the parties like Congress, NC or PDP, they are on the same page. He himself has stated in Hamir Mir's show on GeoTV. So it is really sad. We are seeing the transformation. It's been from terror to transformation. Just for the school children who are going to school, there are no hartal. Students are going to schools and colleges, and then they see the tourist footfall. This year till June, it's been 1.08 crore of tourists that have visited Kashmir. That means the people of Kashmir, the locals, indigenous people, their business is growing, isn't it? If there are so much tourist flow. And the tourist sector in last 3 years, they have seen an annual average growth rate of 15.3%. That's I'm talking with data and fact. The cinema halls have come up. AIMS Jammu has opened. Avantapura AIIMS in Kashmir Valley is going to open next year. So what we have seen, 3 decades of disruption, and now what we are seeing, it's a huge transformation. Yes, as the general said, there must be some cases of terrorism and all, but stone pelting has stopped. There is no stone pelting. Previously, you will know that there was tender used to be given for stone pelter. Somebody used to take the tender upon the boss. No stone pelting. Even terrorism, terror activities have reduced for 70%. Civilian killing has come down around 81%. So there are improvements, lot of improvements we are seeing. And which is more important, see, the Congress itself today wants to bring back their former UPA Home Minister, Sushil Kumar Shinde. A few days back, he was saying that he used to be so scared to be at Lal Chowk. In Bombay language, but he said, ki fatta tha. If you remember, it was on television. We all,
he
so
did.
that itself shows, he did say that. So it shows that today tourists are going, means that they are not fearing the terror attack, right? So it is good for Kashmir. And Kashmir was once the seat of education, learning. It was Sharada Peeth. It is land of Panini and Patanjali and Avinav Gupta. So I think we should look forward to see that Kashmir becomes another seat for education in the near future.
Okay.
So that's what I'll say.
All right. Brigadier Rajan Jamwal, then how do we further improve the situation in Jammu and Kashmir? And do you think there is going to be an adverse impact if there are regional parties like the National Conference or the PDP that take control, and there are leaders from these regional political parties who then become the chief ministers and are at the helm of affairs?
You got a relevant point. Firstly, coming to the changes that would be required. National Conference, PDP, they still have, as a matter of fact, influence in certain pockets and a slightly dedicated cadre. So they are likely to get seats, but not something like ways to almost sweep the polls. This time, Kashmir is going to be a totally fractured mandate. Basically, the polling percentages have gone up. That was expected in any case. After the Lok Sabha polls, we saw what happened. Because the people who gave boycott for the polls are themselves fighting the elections now. So this is one of the very major changes, that has taken place, this thing. Notwithstanding all that, the way forward is, even if some of them come to power, they will not come to power in the kind of, absolute majority or something like. It will be a very fragile, this thing. Still, what needs to be done is, you see, certain important aspects, especially related to law and order and terrorism, they need to be retained by the center. And the center is already working toward that. For example, the Home Department, it is already working directly now under the Government of India, and even all the financing, everything. The whole budget is from the Consolidated Fund of India. This is required because you can't have an irrespective of who's the chief minister and all, and interfering in the downslide of the terrorism which is happening. And then, by certain of his action, again trying to bring back the same period of hartals and bums and all. That cannot be allowed. So certain departments which are related to the security of the states cannot be this thing. That is the way forward, and I'm thinking we are already moving toward that. So it won't matter who comes to power. That won't matter, because once I started that downslide in terrorism, it will continue.
Okay. Amit Rana, how do you view when there is a clarion call by political leaders that we are going to promise you full statehood, returns to Jammu and Kashmir? Is the time conducive? Is the environment conducive? Because you've seen, while there has been a dramatic destruction in terrorist activities taking place, the focus, unfortunately, of the terrorists has shifted to Jammu, where there has been a spate of terrorist attacks and targeted killings.
See, given to me, and if I was to decide, I will never give a statehood to Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir is unique in its as a state, because it is a state which has borders with Pakistan, it has LOC, it has borders with China, it has LOAC. So there's going to be a permanent trouble in Jammu and Kashmir till both the states exist, Pakistan and China, especially Pakistan. With Pakistan having interest in the affairs of Jammu and Kashmir, calling it an unfinished agenda of the partition. It is a state which, from where the deep state derives its power from, that there will be always some kind of trouble in Jammu and Kashmir. And given the way the state operates in this country, in the federal structure where the local government has absolute power even over the law and order, we have seen what has happened in the last 70 years. Let's not forget the problem of terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir is not 40 years old. Pakistan has been meddling in that state from 1947 onwards, and there have been multiple terror groups created to foment trouble in Jammu and Kashmir. There was Jammu Kashmir National Liberation Front, which became JKLF later. There was Al-Bakr. There has been Operation Gibraltar, which happened in Jammu and Kashmir. So there has been a constant problem which is happening in Jammu and Kashmir. So it is wise for the central government to maintain law and order and keep the law and order in its own hand. Because the politicians of Jammu and Kashmir, especially the politicians who come from Kashmir, tend to have a separatist ideology, tend to have a separatist tendencies, and it is always going to be harmful if we bring it back.
Yes.
That's my view on that. And, and you look at the way, and you look at the change that has happened in the last 6 years. My school was next to Lal Chowk, next to that famous Ghantaghar. From every class of mine, I could see Ghantaghar, and every third day I would see stone pelting. And as a child, I used to get worried of ghar kaise jaun main. In the last 6 years, once the center has taken over the law and order, once it has become a UT, we have seen zero incidents of stone pelting happening anywhere near Lal Chowk. In June this year, I myself was in a program which was hosted by the state government, and where the governor of Haryana was standing and meeting people at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with the common people. The same Ghantaghar where at some point of time you had to have a protection if you even wanted to go there and hoist the national flag. So things have changed, and they have changed because you have made it a union territory. So let it be a union territory. Yes, election should happen. This is a democracy. Election should happen, and those elections are happening as of now.
Major General Dhruv Katoch, again the way forward. There is on one hand a narrative being built by opposition parties that there has to be statehood that needs to be granted to Jammu and Kashmir. Another argument being put by Amit Raina to continue to have Jammu and Kashmir to be a union territory. How do we strike a balance? Prime Minister Narendra Modi today in his address said that the people of Jammu and Kashmir are strengthening the democracy of India. That is quite apparent when there are more than 50, even 60% of the people coming out and voting, not just in the assembly elections, but in the Lok Sabha elections as well.
Well, you see, as far as statehood is concerned, whatever the center decides to do will be okay, but I do not think police power should go back to the state. That is the bottom line. You see, so you have a union territory, you have the Delhi model, you can have some other model. The state can look after multiple issues, but not security. If police powers go back to the state, then you will again find that linkages between some of these regional leaders, between the Pakistani ISI, and they will have control over the police. So I think that is going to be a very, very dangerous situation. That should not happen. That is one. Number two, despite the fact that normalcy has set in, please do not reduce the presence of the security forces because it will take some time. What has happened in Jammu and Kashmir has taken place over 2 to 3 to 4 decades of radicalization. It is not something which has just occurred. So we will have to wait for at least 5 to 10 years to de-radicalize the society. It is not something which can happen quickly. The third thing is this furious call which comes up of removal of Article 370. Jokingly, I tell my colleagues here, it requires a medical intervention to remove 370. The day we have a newborn child being placed back in the mother's womb, yes, once you have that sort of a medical miracle taking place, you can have 370 being reintroduced. Otherwise, don't even think of it. So the question is, I think the political parties, especially the center, should now look into two aspects. One is the security, to ensure that the security is maintained, and then the development is maintained. So the people's power must come in really here. People's power to ensure these two activities and sideline the very few remaining terrorists which are there, and then they will have no place to live, and the Pakistanis will be completely sidelined. Mega.
Kagi, your views. Can full statehood ensure that safety and security is paramount and terrorism does not return to Kashmir? Or the solution that my other panelists have mentioned, that there needs to be a special model, perhaps a replication of how Delhi functions, should be brought forth in Jammu and Kashmir, and how accepting are the people and the political parties in the union territory going to, how accepting are they going to be?
I will agree with my previous panelists, what Amit ji said and Dhruv Katot ji said. You know, even if it does not remain a union territory, I think, yes, law and order should be looked after by the center. Otherwise, in no time, it will go back to the previous 3 decades time of turmoil. See, one thing is very clear. See, the mindset and radicalization needs time to change. So for decades, the youth in Kashmir, they were radicalized. So it cannot change overnight. So now that children are new children, they're going to school and colleges, they should be de-radicalized, they should be given modern education. So then their mindset will gradually change. They will feel they are part of this country, India, they're Indians, and they will try to fight for their motherland. But that will really take time. So for now, even if statehood is given back, it cannot be a complete statehood. It has to be something like the Delhi model. It has to be, the law and order has to be with the center. And as Dhruv Katot ji said, yes, the security forces must be there, because we have seen targeted killings. So it's not that if the statehood is given or if the elections are over, that those targeted killings will not happen. So security forces must remain. I agree with him. And law and order should be with the center. Not complete statehood to Kashmir. It cannot happen at this stage.
Brigadier Rajan Jambal, now of course, the Supreme Court has also waded into this debate and spoken about elections to be conducted at the soonest possible after the Lok Sabha elections. There is a deadline that was given in September, and therefore the Election Commission now going ahead and holding, being compliant and holding these elections on the dotted line. Again, how long does it take for the people of Jammu and Kashmir, for the locals, to reap the benefits of abrogation of Article 370? Because right now it's, I'm going to give an example of Ayodhya, the Ram Mandir construction that happened. The locals were not happy because their means of livelihood had been snatched away from them. The shops had been razed, the land had been taken away. So again, it is going to be an impetus that needs to be given by the government. There need to be more and more private players, investments that need to be brought into both these regions, and there is going to be a gestation period of a certain time for the locals to reap the benefits of the development that has taken place in Ayodhya and the abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir. My only question is, how long is it going to take place? How long is it going to take to make this happen?
You see, they have already started enjoying the benefits of removal of Article 370. The record improvement in the tourist sector, it has benefited the people. It has benefited the people. So it is not that they have to still wait long. The results started coming in the change psychology of the people, in the little bit of de-radicalization, in creation of a nationalist constituency in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in Kashmir. You see, there was this constituency in Kashmir which was nationalistic in nature. It was just that it was never nurtured. It did not pay to be a nationalist. In fact, if you are nationalist, you are hounded out. Now that has changed. So the state is benefiting from this change in attitude, the change in psychology. I will go further from law and order. You see, what happens is not only law and order need to be retained, there are some other departments which are closely connected with the security of the state. For example, education, which is connected with the de-radicalization. There is that water works, because now we are having an issue with Pakistan over the Indus water treaties. These departments, and maybe even revenue, because we know what all the previous governments had done with the massive land transfers and, on the border settling people in those sensitive areas, where the infiltration used to took place. So these are all departments which are very closely integrated with the security. Probably in the new model, it doesn't matter whether it is a state or a union territory. The fact of the matter is, there are these departments, what I'm talking about, they need to be retained by the center. And for that, whatever laws they have to make, they must make that.
Okay.
And then let the state government function with the rest of the departments.
Okay.
But these departments, which are very incidental to the national security and to the state security, they need to be retained by the center.
Okay, all right. So that's a conundrum that is not easy to solve. I'm going to come back to Amit Rana, and while we talk about the roads and the construction activity that has taken place, infrastructure that has been emphasized upon, and there are huge sums of monies that have been poured by the government of India to build this. We talk about the, there are business delegations from various parts of the world that have come and recceived these regions. There have been investments to the tune of crores of rupees that have been announced, not just by the domestic players, domestic business conglomerates, but also from outside. But how do we ensure that these benefits are going to be effective for the locals? Why are the locals, according to you, so vehemently opposed to Article 370 revocation? It's difficult for them to come to terms with it, keeping in mind in an immediate future they have to share their resources and their jobs and their land with people who were up until this time not allowed to enter into the territory, not allowed to set up their homes, build their livelihood in the region.
See, there has been a constant feeding to the people for the last 75 years that Article 370 is very important and critical for the existence of a normal Kashmir. And so if you ask normal Kashmiri today that how he has lost or after abrogation of Article 370, trust me, he will have a no logical answer to it. He may give you enough emotional answers to it, but they will be bereft of logic. And that is the way they have been fed. I am a Kashmiri, and for 70 years I have been told that ये आपके लिए एक privilege है, and suddenly a privilege is being taken away. It does hurt. Now, what did that privilege do to me? I honestly don't know. But since I was told it's a privilege, it did hurt that privilege has gone. And second lie that is being made today is that your jobs are at stake because abrogation of Article 370 has opened the floodgates for outsiders to come, which is again a lie. Because if you look at the Domicile Act, the Domicile Law, which was introduced by the Union Territory Government, the central government for Jammu and Kashmir, it says anyone who has lived in the state for 15 continuous years. It is not even that he has cumulative is 15 years, 15 continuous years. He only is eligible for any grade of job. In rest of the states, you are these reservations are only done for class 3 and class 4. But in Jammu and Kashmir, they have done it for 1, 2, 3, 4, all categories of jobs which are being offered by the government. So it is impossible for anyone to live in Kashmir for 15 years, a state which is so terrorist infested, and plan for something कि 15 साल के बाद मुझे जम्मू कश्मीर में नौकरी करनी है, so I will stay there for 15 years. So while I oppose that domicile law, I think it is very regressive after abrogating Article 370, but look at the lies the way political parties are telling people. So there has been enough safeguard being put in by the central government, again, to which I oppose. Given that unique nature of the state, you should allow everyone to go and invest there, because that's how you are going to change the bureaucracy of Jammu and Kashmir, which unfortunately is so Jamaat infested, so corrupt, so full of corruption. Unless and until you do not change the lower level of bureaucracy, things are not going to get better. And for that, you will have to change the bureaucracy. But
okay,
in their own wisdom, the government has chosen to bring in a domicile.
Okay.
So there has been a constant narrative of saying that 370 has brought disrepute to you. It is the challenge. The Nara, the slogans which are going today in Kashmir are saying 370 Majan hun jazat, Benin hun jazat, 370 means माँ की इज्जत, बहन की इज्जत, 370 इसका क्या connection है खुदा जाने, मगर that is the way they are playing with the emotional cord of Kashmiris, and which is a dangerous trend. That is why I again say that it needs to be a union territory, because if you allow them to have a control over the law and order, they will continue to create havoc in Jammu and Kashmir. The political parties in Jammu and Kashmir are not worth giving the law and order in their hand.
Okay, all right. On that note, I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast, and we'll keep our focus because there are 2 more phases left for Jammu and Kashmir Assembly elections, and of course, the big day when the results are going to be announced in the first week of October. Thanks for watching NewsX.